Hi, everybody. I am going to go ahead and get started on time today rather than wait around for more people to join. So, those of you who are here already, hello. I'm happy that you joined me. I'm Dr. Lauri Brouwer from the Living Wellness Medical Center. And today I'm going to be talking to you about how you can impact your nervous system and affect it either to activate or to calm it down. And I'll just get started with the presentation. So, here are your slides. All right, so the way that we are going to impact our nervous system is through the mind-body connection. What is that? What do we mean when we say mind-body connection? This, to some people, they think this sounds like woo-woo, not really scientifically based, but this could not be further from the truth. It's scientifically based. The reason we know this system exists is because we've been able to study it and measure the changes in our body. And so this is definitely a part of functional medicine. The definition that has been come up with by the National Institute for the Clinical Application of Behavioral Medicine includes these 4 points. Mind-body medicine is sometimes referred to as holistic healing or holistic medicine. So I'm sure you've heard that term. It refers to the way that emotional, mental, social, and spiritual factors can directly affect your health. It requires looking beneath the surface of symptoms to find the more fundamental causes for the diseases that we encounter. And if you're already working with a naturopathic doctor, you know this is what we do. This is what really sets us apart from other doctors, is that we're always going to be looking beneath just symptoms to see what's happening in the mind and body that could be causing the manifestation that we're seeing in front of us. And in this way, illness is not considered to be either mental or physical, but it is the interaction of both. I always like to highlight when I'm giving a talk about a topic how this fits into naturopathic medicine. And these are the principles of naturopathic medicine. Healing power of nature, identify and treat the cause, doctor's teacher, and mind-body medicine fits into all of the principles of natural medicine. It is focused on the whole person. So this means the way that you feel in your body, the way that you think, your thought patterns, your memories, your emotions, your feelings, and how you breathe, also how you move your body, what your relationships are like, and the story you tell yourself of your life. So everything you've encountered in your life, you've interpreted and told yourself stories about that. And that can drive how you react to certain things physically. Mind-body medicine is based in psychoneuroimmunology, and that is a term that was coined by Dr. Robert Ader. And it's a really fantastic term to discuss the interdependent nature of the mind, the nervous system, the endocrine and immune system. So the mind influences the nervous system influences the endocrine or hormonal system and our immune system. And all of that affects our health status. When we work with mind-body medicine practices, what I love about this is internally focused control. So this isn't something that's done to you. This is something you do within yourself to help improve the functioning of your body. So you're not trying to change the world around you and the triggers or the stimuli, but you're changing your reaction to things inside your body and your mind. It's empowering, it's empowerment driven. And the great thing about this is that we are providing the tools to you to use in your life. We're not having you become dependent on your doctor, your practitioner, to guide you through all of this. This is something, once you learn the techniques, you're free to do this anytime, any place that you want or need. This is a quote by Samuel Hahnemann, who's one of the great elders in naturopathic medicine. He's a homeopathic practitioner. And it's some very, old-fashioned language he's saying here. But I'll go ahead and read it to you. In the state of health, the spirit-like vital force animating the material human organism reigns in supreme sovereignty. It maintains the sensations and activities of all the parts of the living organism in a harmony that obliges wonderment. The reasoning spirit who inhabits the organism can thus freely use this healthy living instrument to reach the lofty goal of human existence. I love this quote because it makes us think about, why do you want all that health, right? What are you doing all this for? Why are we working on our mind, our beliefs, our thoughts, our physical sensations, our physical activities? Why would we work so hard to get to a state of health? And that is because inside this body, we have a spirit, we have a purpose, we've got drive, we've got something, that's our purpose in life that we want to do. And we need good health to do that. So that's what this is about. One thing I want to point out is that everything in your body is, I'll just say our human bodies are these incredible response mechanisms, right? So everything that our body's encountering day in, day out, during wakefulness, during sleep, our body is responding to its environment moment by moment of every day. And this graphic I put up here is the cover image for a really fantastic show that I watched on Netflix. It's a series, and it is about our human bodies and how they respond to the world around us through different systems. And each episode is a different body system. And I really, really love the system or the episode about the nervous system. So if you only watch one, that would be a great one. I really recommend. But this can help you celebrate how wonderful your body is, that it adjusts and adapts to the world around it. It also brings into sharp relief that we need to be careful about the environment that we do put our bodies into. So this is just to let you know the mind-body connection is through the responses that happen to our environment. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this slide. I know there are a lot of words and it's, there's a lot to look at there. But basically what this is showing you is how does this all work? Our mind-body connection really works through our nervous system. And then our nervous system affects all of our other body systems. This is called our autonomic nervous system because this is, functioning within our bodies that we don't have any conscious control over. It's autonomic, it's automatic, it's responsive. The two sides of it, the technical words are parasympathetic and sympathetic. And what that means is the parasympathetic is our relaxed, restorative state. It's our baseline calm state. And then our sympathetic is our stress response, right? It's our activation. So we need to have a balance between these two systems. Our body is either in one or the other at any given time. They don't coexist. So you're either in this relaxed state or in a stress state. Some other terms that are used interchangeably with these states, the sympathetic nervous system is sometimes called the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn system. Now, you may have heard the fight or flight before, that we've called it that forever. But more recently, we've added in the other responses that this can elicit in our bodies, and that is to freeze or to fawn. And fawning is really just a real severe people-pleasing when we're scared and we're trying to get other people around us to help us or to not hurt us. And so when we're stressed, our body can go into those modes. Then when we're relaxed, we call that rest and digest or feed and breed. Because when we're relaxed, that's when all our systems are go. We can focus our eyes on nearby things. When we're in that stress state, well, let me just say this, when we're in the sympathetic mode, that is activated when our body senses there's a threat. There's something to be scared about. There's a threat happening in our world. And this really was built into the human body when we had to deal with threats in our environment like saber-toothed cats, right? So we would, be activated. We, have this charging animal. So we'd be activated into the sympathetic nervous system. And everything in our body then geared us to flee, to run, to fight, to manage this danger. And when that happens, our vision changes. So now our eyes their pupils don't constrict well enough for us to see very good close vision because our eyes are meant to see a distance where we're running to, getting away from the saber-toothed cat. It dries up secretion, so our mouth gets dry. Our airways open. You may recognize this. This is an effect that happens when people have asthma and they use an inhaler, right? So one of those albuterol inhalers, for instance, they activate your sympathetic nervous system. They send you into fight or flight, and that opens your airways so you can breathe freely. So in a non-asthmatic person, it just opens our airways even further. Again, that's because our body's going to be running from danger. So, that's part of the system. Our heart rate is going to increase. Not only that, the blood pressure goes up when we're in that state. Our digestion is slowed down, because am I going to be eating while I'm running away from a dangerous animal? No. So my stomach doesn't need to be processing food. I don't need to be making saliva in my mouth. So I'm not going to be breaking down foods in that way. I don't need for my digestive tract to be moving things through. So gut movement slows down. And other things that happen, your blood sugar raises up, because if we have a sudden flood of sugar into the bloodstream, that's going to go to your brain, and your brain can use that fuel to think your way out of danger. Our adrenaline is produced during this time, again, to dilate blood vessels, to signal our muscles, with more energy to run from danger. The funny thing about these two systems is if you look at the very bottom, you'll see that our sexual organs are also impacted in both of these modes. We need to be in a relaxed state in order to have sexual arousal. But when it's time for orgasm, that actually we have to shift very quickly into this sympathetic nervous system state for that to happen. So that's just kind of a fun one to know about. But generally, when we're in the stress state, things in our body are not functioning normally. They're not functioning for our optimum health. They're functioning just for us to get out of a dangerous situation swiftly. Now, when we shift back into parasympathetic or the relaxation state, we move back into that feed and breed, then we are getting ready to eat it now. We have saliva to help start breaking foods down in our mouth. Then, we've got the motility to move them down to our stomach. And we have all the enzymes in our intestines being produced and secreted so we can break all our food down. So this is one thing I always like to highlight to patients is if you are in a stressed out state, if you're nervous, if you're activated, don't try to eat a meal then. Your body is not ready to receive food. It's not going to do well with the food that you put in. It won't digest it down effectively. You can get heartburn. You can get reflux. So yeah, you really don't want to eat when your body's not actually prepared to eat. Okay, so these are some of the activities that happen in your body in the different states that we can be in. And you can see why you really want to balance the two. We need some stress in our lives because it does activate our systems. Exercise is a stressor on our bodies, but it helps to increase our heart rate, ramp up our blood sugar, and we can exercise our muscles and keep them strong and activated. So a little bit of stress in our lives is a really good thing. It's when it's in a real imbalance where we're not getting enough time in that relaxation state. And there have been some studies that show what percentage of your day you would want to be in that relaxed state in order for your body systems to be performing, at their best, to be optimal function. And that is 42% of your day should be in the parasympathetic state. That, when you take 24 hours and then you calculate out what that percentage would be, it's 10 hours. So 10 hours of every 24 hours, your body should be in this parasympathetic mode in order for it to function well, for immune system to function full speed ahead, for our gut to process foods well, to keep our blood pressure reasonable, to keep our heart rate nice and low. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how we can do those things. One person who talked about this was an MD who was Harvard trained named Herbert Benson. He came up with this term, the relaxation response. And as he says here, it is the way to turn off the fight or flight response and bring the body back to pre-stress levels. True relaxation can be achieved by removing yourself from everyday thought and choosing a word, sound, phrase, prayer, or by focusing on your breathing. So what he's talking about here is evoking a relaxation response through some form of meditation and or breathing. These are some of the mind-body techniques that we use in naturopathic medicine and in holistic medicine. I am going to be talking you through some of these today Just, again, the ones that you can do at home, out on the go, in the moment when you feel the need to change the state that you're in. Some of these things you can do with a practitioner, with a health coach, a yoga instructor, a Reiki practitioner. Some of the things like hypnosis, there are apps for your phone where you can do self-hypnosis or kind of guided hypnosis. You can do guided imagery and visualization, again, through meditation apps. So those things, you need a little bit of equipment. If you've got a phone with the apps, that can help you with that. Biofeedback, there are a lot of wonderful at-home personal use biofeedback tools that you can learn to use. But again, that's something you have to purchase before you can use it. But on the left side, on the column on the left, all of those are things that you can do anywhere that you're at. And even at the top of the right column, the emotional freedom technique or tapping, that's something once you learn the technique, it's yours to use anywhere you want. Okay, so connection with nature, we know that there's a lot of evidence that proves to us that connecting with nature really can calm down our nervous system. And always, as a naturopathic doctor, I think back to, how did humans evolve on this planet? What was early life like for human beings? Because the bodies we live in now are not different than the bodies that existed 300,000 years ago. Human bodies are the same. They have responded the same throughout time, but the environment we lived in back then was so incredibly different to what we're in today. Wild spaces, green spaces were where we were. We lived near rivers and oceans and mountains, and there were trees everywhere, right? And now we live in buildings with pavement and roads and asphalt and, all these things that are just not natural. Artificial lighting, moving fast speeds on highways, all of the things in our current environment keeps disconnected from nature. A lot of people don't have gardens, and some people don't even have houseplants. So connection with nature is something that's missing and is really stressing humans out a lot. So anytime you can get back a connection with nature, it's going to serve you well. So that can be just even, there's evidence of people that are, bedridden and confined in hospitals, that the outcomes of the patients whose windows look out onto a tree are dramatically better than those who don't have a view of nature. So even just looking at nature through a window is better than nothing at all. But of course, getting out, getting in nature, breathing the smells of the earth, the smells of the trees, having wind rush through our hair and having our feet touch the solid earth, all of that is calming to our bodies. And so that's one thing to just don't ever discount, the power of having some houseplants around. Any connection with nature that you can do on a daily basis is going to serve you well. Okay, other things we'll go through, progressive muscle relaxation is really very easy to do. You can get guided practices for that, or you can just, start with your toes and tense up your toe muscles and then relax them. And then tense up the bottom of your feet and relax them. Tense your ankles and relax them. And that sort of technique, you get the idea. So you can just tense your muscles and then relax them bit by bit, moving your way all through your body. And that can be very calming. Breathing exercises, that's what I'm going to focus really on today. I'm going to talk to you about various ones and the different effects they have on us. Meditation, of course, there are so many forms of meditation out there. Mindfulness-based stress reduction is one of my favorites, and I've given you a resource at the end on the final slide for where you might want to learn that if you're local to the Phoenix area. But mindfulness-based stress reduction, there are so many types of meditation, right? There's loving kindness meditation, there's transcendental meditation. There are a lot of forms. And the benefit from meditation, the real benefit comes from consistent, regular practice. So if that's something you want to take on, fantastic. I mean, starting with 5 minutes of meditation a day is plenty to get you started. Building up to 10 minutes a day is where the real benefit lies. But, any meditation you do is going to shift your nervous system in a different direction. So any amount of it is going to be helpful for you. And meditation doesn't mean sit with your legs crossed quietly and clear your mind, right? It doesn't mean that. You can do that. That can be a way that people meditate. But meditation really simply means focusing your mind and your thoughts on the current moment that you're in. For some people, moving meditation works best. That can be like Tai Chi, or it can be even during weightlifting exercise, moving your body while thinking about exactly what you're doing with your body in that moment. And if your thoughts wander to something else, your to-do list, the grocery list, you just say, thank you, brain. I'm going to move back into meditation now and just focus on the moment. So meditation doesn't have to be something we struggle with by, thinking that we have to do it with just a blank mind, because I can't do that. There's nothing in me that can let me have a blank mind. But through mindfulness-based meditation training, I've learned to meditate effectively. And so you can too. Okay, so the other two things that you can see here that are mind-body techniques that are really more about your beliefs and your feelings, and that's cognitive restructuring. Is, we all interpret events differently, and if you believe that a certain event necessarily means something negative or something harmful, then when we encounter those things, it's going to affect us, with a negative response. Cognitive restructuring is, can you reframe? Can you see things from a different viewpoint that allow it to be, not so hurtful to you, or to just change your viewpoint on things? So cognitive restructuring is part of it, right? Maybe we have some faulty beliefs that we're carrying around, maybe some faulty beliefs about ourselves. So cognitive restructuring is a long-term technique. But even in a moment, right, if you catch yourself excited and anxious about something that, maybe better than to believe that's true, you can catch yourself in that moment and change your thought about it. And then emotional acceptance is a very similar thing, more about how you're feeling about things, not what you think or believe about them. But these are some of the techniques that are used in mind-body medicine that have an effect on the nervous system, that then goes on to have an effect on our hormones, our immune system, our digestive functioning, all of that. Let's start talking through some of the breathing exercises. I told you I was going to help with shifting from one state to the other, right? So some people tend to be anxious. A lot of people that come to see me as my patients carry around anxiety and nervousness and tension in their bodies. And mostly what, we need to guide them on, or we need to work on to learn, is calming. So I'm going to talk more about calming exercises, because that seems to be where I see more of a need for it, right? Getting yourself that 10 hours a day of calmness. Count the 8 hours that you sleep as the big win, right? Because you're sleeping, that's calm. So 2 hours in your day, if you can build in some of these calming practices, fantastic. Here's some breathing. Please note that all breathing for calming is going to be done from your diaphragm, which means the way that you're going to bring air into your lungs is by moving your diaphragm downward into your belly. So when you do diaphragmatic breathing, you don't feel your chest rise at all. You only feel your stomach push out with the breath. Sometimes when you're learning to do that sort of breathing, it helps to lie down, put a hand on your chest, put a hand on your belly, and then breathe and see where the breath goes. If you find that it's moving up into your chest, try to lock your shoulders down in place. Don't let them move. And then breathe, trying to get your hand that's on your belly to move only, right? So hopefully I've described that well, but there are lots and lots of videos online that can show you diaphragmatic breathing. But it's just taking a breath into your belly. So you have to soften your belly and not be guarding with your muscles there. Let your belly be soft so that the breath can go into there. Okay. Some of the slow breath techniques that help with calming are right nostril breathing. And that's just what it sounds like. You just cover your left nostril with a finger and you breathe in and out slowly through your right nostril only. So breathing in that way is calming to the nervous system. One other tip, I'm saying slow breathing, because we don't necessarily always want to strive for a deep breath. I'll tell you, if you're somebody who's anxious or, maybe has some digestive difficulties, constipation, fullness in your belly, sometimes a deep breath can be so difficult to accomplish that it makes us nervous and it makes us more stressed out. So Rather than striving to take a deep breath, just aim for taking a slow breath, right? So the slow breathing in and out through the right nostril only is calming to your nervous system. Another breath pattern that's calming is Qigong breath. And it's a 4-4-6-2. What that means is a count of 4 on your inhalation. Hold for 4. A count of 6 for your exhalation. Hold for 2. Then start again. So again, your pace of counting may vary depending on your ability to take the breath in, right? But counting to 4, 4, 6, and 2, inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Do a series of that. Do a round of that. Slow breathing in that way will calm things down. Coherent breathing is a really fantastic technique as well. And that is without the pausing, just breathing an equal amount, 1 to 1. And that may feel the easiest for people who are more highly anxious when they start doing breathing techniques, because all you need to do is just breathe in and count as long as you're breathing in, and then match your exhalation with breathing out the same count, and just cycle it in and out in equal measure. And that, without the pauses, can also be very calming and can be easier for some people to manage. When you're somebody who struggles with insomnia, or if you're doing this sort of breathing practice just before bedtime, or if you wake in the middle of the night and you want to use a calming breath exercise, coherent breathing is great using a 1 to 2 proportion. So 1 inhalation to twice as long exhalation. So breathing out twice as long. Coherent breathing in a slow breath. Restricted breathing is also great for calming us down. And that one, you may even notice that this is something you may do already when you're nervous or you're tense and you, that kind of breath, right? Breathe in and then purse your lips and puff out. Your body is doing that because it knows that that's a calming breath. And so, automatically, some people's bodies go to that. The other ways, the technique, again, you can look all of these up on YouTube. You can search these terms for these different breaths. But an ocean breath is simple. You just, again, breathe in through your belly and restrict your throat as you breathe out. So it sounds like this. You want to relax your jaw, relax your, let your mouth just hang open, but restricting your throat. So the breath goes on the way out. So that's an ocean breath. Brahmari is using the technique of humming, and you put your thumbs in your ears, breathe in, and then hum as you exhale. So that exhalation makes a vibration in your throat. This gives me a chance to stop for a second and introduce a new idea real quick. So why do these restricted breathing techniques work? When you're restricting your pharynx, when you're humming, when you're pursing your lips, when you're doing these things, the nerve that makes that happen, there's a nerve that comes out of your brainstem called cranial nerve 10, or the vagus nerve. And that vagus nerve is the nerve that sends the signals to all of those parasympathetic responses in anywhere from your intestines on up. Everything that's calming is run by that vagus nerve. And so your vagus nerve can be tonified. And that's just a way of saying we can improve its function by using it. And you can use it by doing anything involving moving your jaw up or down. Chewing relaxes it. Think about people who are really, really stressed and anxious who grind their teeth in their sleep. Is that you? Do you grind your teeth in your sleep? I did as a kid. I did a lot. And that was because unmanaged stress during the day has to get out of our bodies in some way. And your body will use those jaw muscles at night and clench them tightly to try to help relax. So you can, if you have problems with clenching your teeth at night, know that if you chew some gum, you can understand why people that are stress eaters eat food, because chewing is calming. but you can chew gum, you can chew ice, you can do some other chewing, or you can do these sorts of breathing patterns. You can hum. Anything that vibrates your throat is using that cranial nerve 10 too. So humming, gargling, chanting, and singing, all of those things are techniques that activate your vagus nerve and lead to a calming effect in your body. On the final slide, I put some resources, and one of the things I linked to was there is a gentleman, Stephen Porges. He's a doctor, Stephen Porges, who has come up with something called the vagal. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. My brain just clicked out for a hot second. It's on the last slide. But it's all about vagal toning. So he's got a whole technique with how to do this vagal retraining, and all the exercises he introduces you to. But it's all about tonifying the vagus nerve. Also, that vagus nerve does run our diaphragm, right? So when we breathe from our diaphragm, that's activating that nerve too. So these are all things you can do easily to send signals to your body that it's calm, it's relaxed, and it can let the stress go. What if you're somebody who is, super calm, chill all the time? You maybe are down in the dumps, so you're not feeling at all activated or energized, and instead you want to lift yourself up in this way. These are a couple of, safe exercises for activating. The opposite of right nostril breathing here is left nostril breathing. So for this one, using a slow breath technique, you would just cover your right nostril and breathe in and out through your left nostril. In this time, you don't necessarily have to be breathing from your diaphragm because that's more of a relaxing breath. You can focus on a big breath that fills your chest. So moving those shoulders and a big breath in is okay with this technique because we're trying to activate this time around. But breathing in and out through your left nostril, activating the lungs through your chest. A moderate breath technique is a little faster. This one we're not doing slowly. This is a ha breath. A moderate breathing technique with a ha breath is doing it only 10 to 15 cycles per minute. So using 4 or 5 seconds for each cycle. And with the ha breath, you're going to bring your arms up over your head while you inhale. And as you go down, you exhale like, right? So arms up, breathe in, ha, as you exhale. That's an activation type of a breath, but it's a safe activation type of a breath. And why do I say safe or not safe? This next set of activating breaths is not so safe for some folks. Some people already have overactive nervous systems as it is, and this will just further send them into a stress state. People with PTSD or are in a mania phase of bipolar, people who have epilepsy, seizure disorders, people with hypertension, or with an altered mental state. And that can mean, chemically altered or otherwise. If you have a case of COPD or you've recently had surgery, don't do this at all. I just caution the above ones, but if you've had COPD and recent surgeries, these rapid breathing techniques are not for you. Okay, rapid breath techniques for real activation here include the ha breath, which I just told you about with the arms up, and then ha on the way out, but this is more rapid. This is greater than 4, or shorter than 4 seconds per cycle, maybe, 3-4 seconds per cycle. Bellows breath. Again, I put the Sanskrit terms in here, so you can always look these breathing techniques up on YouTube if you'd like to see video demonstrations of them. But a bellows breath is just after you breathe in normally, you sharp exhale with a right? So breathe in and out. But you can watch videos for a closer approximation of the technique. Breath of fire, fantastic. If you've done yoga very much, if you've done hot yoga in particular, at the end of every session, we do this, near the end, right before Savasana, you do the breath of fire. And that is not focused at all on the inhalation, but focusing all your effort on the exhalation. And it's intense and it's rapid. And let me see if I can demonstrate for you. It's done like this, right? You breathe in just normally, but you push the breath out by popping your diaphragm in very quickly towards your spine. So take your belly button and push it back towards your spine really quickly with your breath. It looks and sounds like this. Again, Drop your jaw open, relax it, and just let the air pass freely through. Don't do any tension in the throat for this one. Breath of fire looks like this. I'm making noise so you can hear me, but it's that fast. That's a breath of fire. And that's very activating. So, if you're sitting around working on a project, sitting around watching TV, really inactive, and you want to suddenly get your energy up to get going, and again, you don't have any of the above conditions, that's a great one just to re-energize your body and to move that breath rapidly. Other methods that can be used for calming, besides just breathing techniques, these are some of the things, again, just available to you, free, at home, whenever you need it in the moment. One of the quickest is grounding. Hi, Jesse, I see your question about you're in a parasympathetic state when you're asleep. Yes, you are. Okay, so methods for calming, like grounding. So grounding can be grounding yourself in your body and in your environment in the moment that you're in. Why does this work? Now, I didn't touch on this before when I talked about shifting between sympathetic and parasympathetic, but when we shift into that sympathetic mode, when we're in the fight or flight, we're running from a tiger, right? That is a state that your brain will detach from paying attention to your body. It'll just disconnect and not be noticing what's happening inside your body. So when we're activated into that state, we're not noticing body sensations at all, which is smart. And I usually describe this because if I was running from a saber-toothed cat and I stub my toe on a rock, I don't need to notice that. I don't need to pay attention to pain that's happening. I need to just run and get away from danger, deal with the aftermath later. So one of the ways that we can shift our body into the other state is to just pay attention to ourselves, pay attention to our bodies, pay attention to our environment, be here in the moment, in the now. And that will tell your body, hey, you know what? We're not actually being chased by anything right now. We're in a safe place. Because again, I didn't mention this before either, but words don't tell your body that it's safe. You can't say to your brain, through your mind, you can't say, we're not actually in danger right now. We're safe right now. Your brain, your body won't hear that. You need to move your body in ways that demonstrate to it that it's safe. So grounding is one of those ways. And here's how it goes. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique is you use your 5 senses. 5 would be, let's pick 5 things that you can see. So just stop, ground yourself, take a breath, and look around. What are 5 things here that I can see? 5 things in my environment, right? And then 4 is the next. 4 things that you can hear, right? Listen. Hear your air conditioning, hear computer hum, whatever it is. Here are 4 things. Then 3 things that I can touch, right? So 5 things in your environment. I can touch my hair, touch my glasses, I can feel my computer. So whatever it is that you can touch, 3. 2 things that you can smell, right? Try to find 2 things in your environment you can smell. And then finally, the last is, what can you taste? Maybe it's just you can taste the inside of your mouth. You can taste your teeth. But doing that grounding, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, is just a really simple, easy way to just get your brain and your body back into a state where it's not in panic mode. Okay? Another grounding, another term for, a technique we call grounding is when you literally exchange ions with the earth. When your body is touching the earth and you can exchange positive and negatively charged ions. This is something that, generally speaking, it's bare feet on soil, right, on the earth itself. So that way our body is touching the earth. But, one thing I learned that's really cool is that you can still ground and get that interaction between your feet or your body and the earth, even if there's a barrier between the soil and you, as long as that barrier is porous and permeable. So if you have a concrete pad on the ground and that concrete is touching soil and you put your feet on the concrete, you can still exchange and do the grounding through that, right? Same thing, if it's tile, if it's a natural tile that doesn't have, something, a natural kind of coating on it. But anyway, like terracotta, right? So putting your feet on the earth for any period of time can be grounding. Walking around with bare feet, fantastic. There are actually studies that show resolution of pain and quicker healing of sores and things when we ground to the earth. So, there are physical benefits to this. And that's, again, it's your nervous system calms down, your immune system works well, your immune system lets you heal things better. So all of this is, just proving out all the techniques all the principles I already talked about. But touching your feet to the earth exchanges ions, calms things down. Nature bathing is another kind of a grounding, and that would be, sitting under a tree, resting your back up against a tree, breathing the air in a forest. There are chemicals in the air. There are chemicals in the soil that are in forests that are nowhere else. So there's, lots of information and studies about nature bathing and the benefits for us of that. So anytime that you can get out into nature, look at some plants, put your feet in some dirt, touch a tree, breathe some healthy natural air, that's going to be calming to your nervous system. It's going to remind your body of those early days on the earth when early humans were living very connected to the earth, right? Cold water exposure can be something calming. It sounds like it might not be, right? You think, oh, cold water, that doesn't feel good. I don't like to be in cold water. But cold water does have a calming effect on our nervous system, depending on how you expose yourself to it, right? But just one technique that's really great that can be used for people that are starting to get activated into stress or starting to feel ramped up and nervous is to just get a bowl, fill it with water, put some ice cubes in it, and plunge your hands in there and, play with the ice cubes and get your hands in that cold, cold water and leave them there for a minute, right? But getting that cold water exposure to your hands can trigger a calming response in your body. Splashing cold water on your face has a reflexive action of lowering your heart rate. It calms our nervous system down. So again, just putting some cold water on your face, just fill up a basin and put cold water on your face, or plunge your face into a sink full of cold water. Another thing is on your chest. If you take an ice pack and put an ice pack over your heart on your chest, leave it there for a few minutes, that can calm your nervous system down too. So cold water exposure in those ways, again, easy, free, do it at home, do it when you're traveling, wherever you are. If you can get access to some ice water, you can do this. Now, doing some cold water exposure on a regular basis, things like taking a cold shower, or at the end of a hot shower, doing 30 seconds of as cold as you can stand, that can be really good to teach our bodies to calm down with cold exposure too. And that actually requires a little bit of a technique though, because when you turn the water to cold in the shower, initially there's a little bit of a jolt of, oh, this is a very different sensation. This is dramatically different from the hot you were just feeling. And that may activate you to feel a little nervous for the moment that hits you. But if you learn in that moment to do a belly breath, to relax your shoulders, hold down, breathe through your belly, and just calm yourself while the cold water is touching, you can teach your body to calm down in that way. So initially, if that's difficult for you, start with a really short exposure, 10 seconds, turn that water off and call it good. But the more you can practice that technique and get adept at taking a little bit of a cold shower every day, it just helps to tonify your nervous system and to get it to be easier to downshift into calming more readily. Okay. Progressive muscle relaxation. I think I mentioned that on the previous slide. But again, it's just, take your hands and tense them up as tight as you can, hold them, and then relax it. And then, tense your wrists, flex them as hard as you can and relax. And, squeeze. So all of these, squeeze your muscles as hard as you can for a moment and then relax it. Do it, from your fingers to your shoulders, from your feet all the way up through your trunk. All right, even to where you flush up your face just as tight as you can and then relax it. That would be the last thing is your face. But a progressive muscle relaxation can be fantastic. And if you've ever done that before, you probably already know it can really help. If you had an area that was really tense already, tensing it further can be just what you need to then let it relax. Okay, so progressive muscle relaxation. It's a really nice thing to do in bed when you're trying to go to sleep. If you have trouble falling asleep, that can be a way to ease your body into sleepiness. A body scan, same kind of idea, although you're not actually moving or doing or contracting, you're just observing. This is kind of like a more advanced grounding technique. You're scanning through your body. You're looking from your toes. You're just saying, what's going on with my toes right now? Is there any pain? Is there any tension? What do they feel like? Okay. Then what does the arch of my foot feel like? Is it tight? Is it relaxed? Is there any pain? Is there any throbbing? What kind of sensation? You just do that through your entire body. Work your way up, joint by joint by joint, all the way up through, just scanning what's happening in my body right now. And if you notice an area of tension, you could tighten it up and then relax it if you want to, or you can just say, okay, I'm noticing that. I'm noticing it's there. I just observe it without judgment and just let it go. Then that's what a body scan is like. And again, you can get apps that guide you through body scan. You can get guided meditations and things. But just simply paying attention to each little piece of your body in a systematic way is relaxing. Emotional freedom technique is one technique that I really, really love. It can be very healing for people. It's one that's fantastic for people that have PTSD or anxiety. So some of those things that I said, the activating breathing techniques are bad for, these emotional freedom technique is great for. Because emotional freedom technique helps you to train your body to be calm in the face of a stressor. So even if something is making you feel activated, something's bothering you, you're anxious, you're nervous, you have a deadline coming up, you've got a bill coming up and you're worried about paying it, anything, relationship struggles, whatever you're dealing with in a moment, it's causing you pain, it's causing you tension, it's intrusive thoughts you're dealing with, all of those sorts of things you're feeling. You can do an emotional freedom technique tapping session to teach your nervous system to calm down even when those things are happening. So you don't have to change the events that are happening in your life, but you can change your reaction to it. It does require training first. So this one, yes, you can do it at home. You can do it anywhere you're at, as long as you learned it first. And I would suggest you work with somebody who knows how to do the technique, because there are ways of framing your most pressing issue, the thing that's bothering you. There are ways of framing and speaking about that guide the positive affirmation that we want to replace that tension with. And so, learning that technique from somebody, it doesn't take more than a couple of minutes, but I would suggest you work with somebody who knows what they're doing with that. But emotional freedom technique, fantastic. Again, websites all about this. Emotional freedom technique was developed in 1995 by a gentleman whose name escapes me right now, and he termed it that emotional freedom technique. Later in the 2000s, a young man come along and developed something called tapping. And so you can also find Nick Ortner's his name. And so he has a whole group of people that does the tapping method. They're the same thing. They just have different branding, right? But that tapping, that one, it's a little more conspicuous, right? Because you're tapping on your head, or you're tapping certain acupuncture points. So when you're doing your tapping, other people see that. So maybe that's not one you do out in public, but it's a great one for, a private moment, or if you don't care if other people around see you doing it. So that is all the different techniques I was going to go over with you about calming. Here's some resources that I told you I'd share with you. Polyvagal theory. That's it. Polyvagal theory by Stephen Porges. There's a link there to more information. I will make sure that you guys can have access to this so you can actually click on those slides. But Stephen Porges, a lot of people use his technique. So if you just search that term, you'll find a lot of other people that have adopted his technique and are teaching it through maybe their therapy practice. But I would say go to the source of it. Go to his website, check into it, find a program if you want to learn it. There's resources like there's books, there's books on tape, there's apps for this. But polyvagal theory is all about working with that vagus nerve and learning to tonify and activate the vagus nerve, that cranial nerve number 10, more often. So with that, you can learn this technique, or you can learn about polyvagal theory and learn the techniques. But really, I told you a lot of them, right? It's gargling. humming, singing, chanting, belly breathing, things like that, right? Activating cranial nerve number 10. Then Rewire Therapy is a fantastic resource that has self-guided programs. And it's just a source where you can go and, learn some programs to help if your body tends to jump into that fight or flight really frequently, or if you feel like you just live in that fight or flight zone, a lot of us do, you can learn some techniques to help. So I've talked you through some, but you may need some real training in these things to get good at them. So Rewire Therapy has some fantastic self-guided programs that you can do to learn these techniques. Mindfulness-based stress reduction through the Scottsdale Institute for Health and Medicine. It's taught by a gentleman called Paul Sugar. I did this course myself. It's an 8-week training, and it is just fantastic. I am somebody who never thought that I could meditate until I took this course, and now I know I've proven to myself that I can. All right, and so those are some resources you can use, or reach out to me, ask me. I'm happy to help you and guide you towards things. If you're a patient of mine, we can personalize it a bit more for you too. But there are great tips and tricks out there. So hopefully now you understand the rationale behind it, the physiology behind it, why it actually makes a difference, what we think, what we believe, how that affects our body, how it affects our nervous system. Because if we live with a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, we don't have strong finances. Maybe our relationships are poor. Whatever is going on in your life that maybe keeps you in a low grade fear state all the time, it affects how your body functions, right? It declines your immune function. It messes with your your immune system, right? It messes with your digestive functioning, your your endocrine system, right? Your hormones, all of those things are impacted negatively when we're living in a stress state. But any moments in the day, every minute that you can bring yourself into a relaxation moment is worth doing, right? Even if you have 5 minutes between clients, 5 minutes between kids' events, whatever it is, someone just went down for a nap. If you've got 5 minutes to breathe, do it. Do a calming technique, because it'll just keep you down closer to that baseline where everything in your body is actually working. Okay. Hopefully you're convinced about that. Now I'm just going to open for questions. I see in the chat, I just have one question. I'm so sorry, Susan. Yes. It started at 3:00 and I did record it. And so you will be accessing a recording of this later. So we'll put that up for you. Okay. Yep. That's great. All of you guys, Kim, you can all access this later. So there'll be a recorded version you can look at later. And I hope you will. And of course, reach out to me if you have any other questions. Call me at Living Wellness Medical Center. And if you're a patient of mine and you want to know more of these techniques, if you want to practice them with me in person, I am more than happy to do that for you. Doctor as teacher is the name of the game with naturopathic medicine. So I'm here to help if you need me. All right, everybody, that was it for today. Thank you for your attendance. I really appreciate you being here and paying attention. And for your questions, I will see you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.